Algarve Hills, the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve, situated 30-minute drive outside the bustling town of Portimão, has made its mark on world motorsport as one of the greatest thrills for riders and fans alike. 16 laps lie ahead of Moto2 on this undulating 4.59 kilometre, 2.85 miles Portimão circuit, where it will be a test of the human body and the mighty resilience of their machine. Last year's champion Senna Aegis showed how rider and machine working in perfect harmony could come out standing on top after the ride is over. Who will take on the ups and downs and come out ready to go again? So that means it's time to strap yourself in, as it's time for the roller coaster. So race number 2 of the day, Moto2. Race 1 lies ahead around this brilliant, scintillating circuit here in the Algarve. The sun is shining, a few clouds in the sky, but nothing to deter the riders out there on the circuit. We're expecting a barnstormer of a day and a very warm day ahead of us. And this is what happened. Barnstorming Barcelona last time out. And it was Jorge Navarro that started from pole position. He got the whole shot into turn number 1, but was quickly challenged by stock champion Dani Munoz. Eric Fernandez showed well in the early stage, but mechanical puts him out of the running. The top 6 quickly charged away, and the chasing pack were hot on the heels. At this moment here from Garcia put the forward team's head in their hands as the Bosco Segura riders challenged for 4th and 5th, but no one could deny a Munoz masterclass who took his first race win in Moto2. Lights out again for race number 2 as Jorge Navarro took the whole shot once more, but had a bit of a moment into turn 1 that allowed Sura to take the lead, but he was quickly shuffled down the field. A bit of a moment there for Munoz. If he wanted to make a double, he had to try and stop making those mistakes, but he regathered himself and once again made it a Dani double in Barcelona. He came out of top in Moto2. So Dani Munoz comes into this round 16 points behind your championship leader Mattia Cassidy after that double in Barcelona. One of the riders that was hot on his heels was the number 31 who rolls up to pole position, Roberto Garcia.
It is my first pole in this category. I am very happy for this team. In the weekend, it's very hot in the Portimão. Thank you for my team, Fanti Cardoso Racing, and for my family. Portimão is my favorite circuit because it's very technical and I'm good circuit for me. I love. I expect with podium. I look to race. Go to the podium tomorrow.
A 1:42.960 puts Roberto Garcia on pole position for race 1 and race 2 coming up a little bit later on. Here is the rider on screen. Big heart to the Portuguese fans because it is his favourite circuit and he shows how much he loves it with an absolutely scintillating lap in qualifying. He's picked up 3 podiums along the way, including a race win. He'll be hoping to add that here today for the Fanti Cardoso Racing Team. And Luis Cardoso, former MotoGP rider, on the right-hand side of the screen there, setting up a brilliant team for the likes of Roberto Garcia to show his form. Picked up a P5 and a P3 here in the last couple of years. He'll be hoping to go a couple of steps further ahead for this one. Alberto Sura, your former championship leader, now 5th place in the championship. Chris, he is a rider that really needs to find some form because he's missed out on the podium, as you can see there, since his race win back in Misano.
Yeah, started very strongly in this category, taking that win in Misano, an experienced rider who's one of the highest placed returners from last year's campaign as well. He was one of the few riders to challenge Senna Aegis on occasion, as Senna Aegis ran away with the championship last season. But Sura has shown good form, but he's just been outside those podium places. Estoril was a frustrating round from him. He started, back on the 5th or 6th row after mixed conditions in qualifying, but he charged through the pack to take a P4 in race 1 and was on again to take another P4 before crashing out in race 2. Danny Munoz, though, a rider who luck has not deserted. It was double delight for Danny in Barcelona as he took P1 on both occasions. Brilliant stuff from Munoz, your stock European champion from 2023. And then following up actually on that Barcelona round, he performed admirably, shall we say, in the Catalan GP, where he was wildcarding in the Moto2 championship. Put in a strong strong weekend, but the race itself ended on a disappointing note as he crashed out. But he followed that up then with a performance in Italy. He didn't pick up any points. He was also in France. So a rider only, 17 years old?
17 years old, yes. His 18th birthday is in a couple of weeks' time. So Danny Munoz, when he made that Catalonia GP appearance, really did turn some heads.
Yeah, it must be mentioned as well, actually, Danny Munoz did suffer a crash here on Friday. We spotted him in the canteen yesterday, managed to get over and say a quick hello. He was wearing a bandana, I suppose, a headscarf to cover up, but we saw he had some paper stitches placed. He had a crash into the gravel and must have landed head first because he had some stitches just around the nose and eye area. So thankfully he's okay to ride and seemed in very good spirits when I was chatting to him yesterday. So
yeah,
good stuff, and he will be a contender here. Let's face it, Liam.
Yeah, thankfully he was checked over by the medical team and was given the all clear. In 4th position, we just saw the number 49 of Francesco Mongiardo picking up his best qualifying of the season. Jorge Navarro, who is in 5th spot, started from pole position last time out in Barcelona. He's on a strong run of form at the moment. 3 podiums from the last 4 races. Still missing that elusive win, his maiden win in the class. Can you believe it? The experienced Jorge Navarro still missing an elusive win here in the class.
Yeah, 3 P2s from the campaign so far, and he has been among the front runners. He's got over 100 appearances on the World Championship stage. A rider of ultimate pedigree. Mattia Cassidy, speaking of pedigree, Liam, your Moto E World Champion. He was back to winning ways in the electric class in Italy, and well, he's among the championship contenders here. A super rider on his day. He's picked up a win here in Estoril, followed by P2. Barcelona didn't quite go his way, but he hunkered down and picked up some strong point scoring positions. He started 2nd on the grid and could only finish P5, P4. Not bad results as we look at Unai Oradre.
Yeah, just to go back to Cassidy very quickly, he did win here earlier on in the season in Moto E. And Unai Oradre, we see on screen here, I don't know if we can mention it, a bit of a funny little story behind Unai Oradre. Is my colleague here, good friend Chris, thought he was Lorenzo Dalla Porta when we saw him in the hotel over the weekend, but not Lorenzo. He does look a little bit similar, though, to be fair.
A doppelganger, we can say. I
indeed.
think it's a fair mistake, but my confusion was born out of the fact I was having a look at the entry list and noticed that Mr. Dalla Porta himself won't actually be contending in the stock race here later today. So I was curious as why is he here, but not racing. However, thanks for throwing me under the bus there.
Oh, of course, I've got to take any opportunity I can, don't I? But we'll talk about Lorenzo Dalla Porta later on today. For now, we'll talk about Ferrandis, who sits 8th place in the World Championship. 2 podiums this year. Got to remember, this is his first full season in the Moto2 category. Stepped up to Moto2 from ETC towards the end of last year and has been shown very well on the pace. Very strong in the early part of the races, but then just slips off towards the end.
Yeah, he can be a little bit of a funny one. He is a young rider and just building his experience. He was in the ETC before jumping up to Moto2. Finished last season quite strongly. He only joined, I think, with 2 rounds remaining.
2 rounds to go, yes.
And he's picked up a podium not on debut, but in the opening round here in Misano and then in Estoril. I wouldn't say win it or bin it, but he's either, when he's honest, he's very tough to stop, but then he can have a little habit of getting mired in mid-pack. But maybe that's just an issue of inexperience. He is still only 16 years old, I believe.
Yeah, it's very young.
Competing in the Moto2 category. He's a talented rider without a doubt. And on his day, he is a podium contender.
We just saw the Japanese rider there, Kaito Toba, who was having a bit of a struggling weekend so far up to Q2 yesterday. He had to come through Q1, top that session, into Q2, and starts from 9th position on the grid. But it's been a difficult season so far for Kaito Toba, their former Moto3 race winner. And he'll be looking to at least try and finish inside the top 10 here today, because he needs to start picking up some important points, does Toba, but it's his first season in the Moto2 class, so it might take a bit of time for the Japanese rider to get up to speed. Matteo Volpe on the 77 machine, a couple of 12th positions along the way, still looking for that elusive top 10, and Volpe has been in the class for a couple of years now, and his best result of 9th position came last year, and also finished P9. Well, I think it was actually here in the Algarve 1 year ago. So he goes well around this circuit, does Volpe, and he'll be hoping to pick up his first top 10 here today. But everyone will be looking to chase down the 31 Roberto Garcia on the Fantic Cardoso racing machine. Can anyone stop the 31 in race 1 from Moto2?
So your grid for the opening race of the Moto2 European Championship here in the Algarve sees Roberto Garcia launch from pole position for the very first time ahead of Alberto Suro and double Barcelona winner Dani Munoz. Then it's Monjardo, Navarro and Cassidy in a blockbuster row 2, with Unai Oradre launching from the head of the third row ahead of Alberto Ferrandez and Kaito Toba. Eric Fernandez, Mattia Volpi, Marco Tapia are on row 4 ahead of Harrison Voigt, Brett Roberts and Johan Gimbert. While the back 2 rows sees Lorenzo Felon, Taiga Hada, Mattia Ratto, just ahead of Gianpaolo Di Vittori, Charles Aubry and Jacopo Cretaro.
Yeah, so the revs are rising for Moto2. And we've got a problem there for the number 5, who will be getting his bike taken off the grid. So it's a disaster there for Lorenzo Felon, your former Moto3 World Championship rider. And Felon, who was starting further back down the grid, been struggling so far this weekend, and his struggles have come back to haunt him even more ahead of race number 1 here in the Algarve.
Yeah, he fell off the grid there. So it is, apologies.
Unbelievable.
So it is time for the warm-up lap here, with Roberto Garcia starting from pole position on the dip into turn 1. Remember, it's just the warm-up lap, Liam. It's not time just yet, but I have to say, Moto2 this year has been outstanding to watch
brilliant.
and track.
Well, the Pirelli tyres have really shaken up the order. We spoke to Harrison Voigt yesterday, the number 29 we see on the screen just in front of us on the Yamaha Philippines Style Bike Racing Team. And he was saying that he really enjoys the Pirelli front tyres. A lot of these riders do, but the Pirelli rear has a lot of grip in the opening initial laps, but does slip off a little bit towards the end. A very different proposition to the Dunlops, which could, as I said, last many, many rounds. But the riders absolutely loving the Pirelli front, and gives them a lot of confidence, as we've seen so far this weekend, with the lap record absolutely smashed with it. Dani Munoz on Friday setting a 142.428. That is their new lap record around this circuit, and we saw that happen in FP1 on Friday. So the morning sessions here in the Algarve is where the fast times really come from. It's later on in the day when the track heats up a little bit, it becomes a little bit slippier, that we see the lap times drop off about 5, 6 or 7 tenths of a second. So that's something to keep a close eye out on in the race here today, race number 1 and race number 2. Also, another little note, on the previous 5 occasions, the rider that has won race number 1 has gone on to race number 2. It was only back in 22 with Esquige and Lukas Tulovic that bucked that trend. So if someone takes the victory here today in race number 1, Chris, we could be on for a double for them later on today. As we look at the championship standings, Cassidy leads it from Garcia, Navarro, he's come into championship contention, and Munoz as well, your 2-time winner in Catalonia, only 16 points back.
Yeah, it's an interesting point on the double winners here. Ooh, that's Roberto Garcia.
Almost dropping it before
little moment. But on the double winners, Liam, because we've only had 1 double winner so far this season. That came in Barcelona, Dani Munoz. Prior to that, it was 4 different winners in 4 different races. Munoz made it 5 and 5 before he went and made it only 5 in 6, bucking that trend. So it'll be interesting to see how action unfolds here in terms of the title chase.
People come here to watch the racing, but they also come here for our stats, Chris. We've got them in abundance.
We're here to entertain.
Exactly. Entertain and inform we are. But we'll be leaving up to the Moto2 riders to entertain us over 16 laps of this 4.59 kilometer Algarve circuit as the red lights come on, revs are rising, and out they go, and it's a great start from pole position for Roberto Garcia. Also Sura got off the line well in the 67, but it's Jorge Navarro that chops across the front of Munoz into third spot, but it's Sura that leads the way on the 67 Bosco Scura. Garcia though on the 31 Fantic machine chops up the inside. Garcia late in the brakes, but it's Garcia for now that leads the way ahead of Sura. We have a moment there for Munoz into turn 3. He sets up Navarro, and it looks like Oradji on the number 10 doesn't make it around the outside of Navarro just for now. For the bag, we've got Cassidy on the number 40 Bosco Scura, and also Ferrandez on the 4 machine as Oradji looks up the inside, and Sura takes the lead from Garcia, chopping back up the inside. Can Garcia get the drive out of 5 into section Scan, setting up Sura, but just like last year, Sura takes the lead on the opening lap, but Garcia once again into 8, chops up Alberto Sura. This is great riding, really aggressive from your top 2 so far. We see a couple of riders out of seat in the background, and Sura up the inside in Craig Jones' corner. That's a big move, but Garcia around the outside. This is the first lap, guys, not the last lap. Keep it tidy, keep it simple for now. We've still got 16 laps to go.
Absolutely electric start here in the Algarve in the Moto2 class. Roberto Garcia didn't get the best launch from the line, and we said Alberto Sura is due a big result. He hasn't been on the podium since the opening race, which he won. He must have hurt us because he was off like a light. Out of there as quick as possible, but an absolutely sensational move from Roberto Garcia going into Lagos, coming around the right-hander at turn 2 to retake the lead, and it's been chopping and changing since. And just behind them, as we've been focusing on the front 2, Danny Munoz now has established control of P3 with Jorge Navarro dropping behind just a little bit, but it's all about these front 2 riders. Garcia and Sura are here to entertain.
See some of the mechanics in the background for Ferrandez, giving him the hurry up, and look at the gap that these two already have. 0.6 of a second back to Munoz, who's got another 0.7 in hand over Oradji, Ferrandez and Navarro. Fernandez once again on the number 4 machine, showing very well in the opening laps, as he did do in Catalunya. But for now, it's Garcia, as we've seen so many times this year, off like a scalded cat in the opening laps. But towards the end of the race, we have seen him drop into a couple of tyre problems. Let's see if he can get it all sorted this time round and hold those tyres, as it looks like he's now starting to pull away just ever so slightly from Alberto Sura in first and second, as Oradji now, who picked up his first podium of the season back in Catalunya, is chasing the back of your double race winner last time out, Danny Munoz. There's a bit of a moment, a rear ender coming out of turn number 8, dropping down the hill into Craig Jones' corner, and Oradji setting up a move potentially into Portimão, not quite yet.
So out front, Roberto Garcia still leading over Sura, but it is all chock-a-block just behind him. Danny Munoz has established control of P3. Oradji, Fernandez, Navarro, Ferrandez, all very much in the battle here. Mattia Cassidy, though, he is not had the best of starts. He's currently running in P8. Kind of needs a big result here as well. Hasn't gone his way in recent races, Cassidy, the Italian, but we know he is a rider of outstanding quality as he comes into the back of ours, at the back of the screens there, the Team GFD Bosco Scura machine. Hard to miss on circuit, the bright, luminous green-yellow colour. Myself and Liam have had some disagreements about the colour of that. I call it yellow. He says it's green. He says it's green, but nonetheless, there's always seems to be one at the front. Alberto Sura just having a little look up to the side there of Roberto Garcia going into turn 1, but not quite close enough. But he is swarming all over the rear wheel of the pole sitter. 142.578 from Sura. It means he is the fastest rider currently on track.
Bosco Scuras go very well around the circuit, as we saw from Sura last year before he had to serve his long lap penalty in race 1. And in the World Championship, I was going to say, it's one of the strong tracks. However, one of the only 2 victories that Bosco Scuras haven't had in the World Championship came here when Aaron Canet on the Calyx took victory back in April time. So the Bosco Scuras are doing well, but the Calyxes have got the upper hand at the moment. Another moment for Munoz coming out. The seat looks over his shoulder to make sure nobody tags him, but that's given an opportunity for Oradji and now Navarro to take advantage of that. Last lap, we did see a bit of a a rear end moment from Munoz. He had a bigger one this time round. Thankfully, he's still on the machine and ready to go again. But just like Catalunya, in the early laps, we have seen Munoz with a few moments on the rear end. He just needs to get his composure as he runs a little bit deep. That gives his championship rival from last year in the stock an opportunity. Here we go again. Replay of the moment. Big slide there as he just taps open the power, looks over his shoulder as O'Radry has to take avoiding action. So very lucky there for Munoz just to gather up once again, and he's still having some moments a little bit further back, but thankfully he's in 5th position as the top two tick off another lap.
Alberto Sura, is he going to have a little look up the inside of Roberto Garcia? He most certainly is, and he has flown by the pole sitter to take the advantage into turn 1. I was just about to say, Liam, on the Munoz moment, it's not the first time we've seen a rider today out of the seat coming through there. Now, not giving too much away what happened in the opening Junior GP race, but it was a cracker as it normally is. But focusing now on Moto2, Alberto Sura has flown past the pole sitter Garcia to take the initiative and has already put a couple of bike lengths between them. It's not quite the chopping and changing we saw in the opening lap between the two, as Unai O'Radry is about to lose 3rd position to Jorge Navarro. Navarro runs out too deep though and gives the position back to O'Radry. So O'Radry, a little bit of luck there perhaps on his side. Navarro ran away too deep coming through turn 5.
Yeah, a few of the riders here are just having some moments in the rear end as they crack open the throttle. You just see the tyre moving ever so slightly, but with Navarro making that move, it was O'Radry got a great drive out of turn 5 as Munoz now has regrouped, and Fernandez on the number 54 Finish Work team.
Moment for Navarro as well.
Yeah, as we were talking about, so many of these riders are having moments now. That's going to give an opportunity for Fernandez up the inside into 12. Yes, he's done it late on the brakes. Very nicely done, but chopping up the inside is Jorge Navarro once again on the forward machine. Jorge Navarro does very well around this circuit. His final ever World Championship Moto2 podium came here a couple of years ago, so we did maybe expect him to be fighting a little bit further up the field, but that was on the Calyx. He's now on a forward machine. It's a little bit different to the Calyx he had a couple of years ago, so maybe that's what's making all the difference as Roberto Garcia looks for a move on Sura. Later on the brakes, it's Sura that still holds the advantage on the Bosco Scura. This is a great performance for Sura, the best we've seen of him since Misano, round number 1, where he took victory there. Hasn't been on the podium since, and we know he does like it around here after his performance last year. So Chris, very well and truly come out fighting here today.
Yeah, he's come out swinging. We mentioned it, he hasn't been on the podium since the opening race in Misano, which he won. He was the championship leader. He was coming into this season as one of the favourites, as a returning rider, one of the top riders in the 2023 campaign. Did pick up a couple of podiums, and now he is responding to what had been, not to be too harsh, but perhaps a little underwhelming spell when we were expecting a little bit more from him. And as we look at the championship standings, Roberto Garcia is running in 2nd position. That means he'll pick up 20 points and usurp the championship lead from Mattia Casadei, who is all the way back, I think, in P8 at the moment. Indeed, he's back at P9. He's dropped behind Kaito Toba. So less than an ideal day for Casadei.
Yeah, Kaito Toba is coming on strong in this race on the number 60 machine. Just ahead of Casadei, there was someone in the promo racing, the champions from last year in the hands of, or the champions from a couple of years ago, or actually, I'm going to get that right eventually, race winners a couple of years ago in the hands of Senna Ages and last year as well. So the top two round the penultimate corner, and to the final one to go. It's still Sura leading the way. These two are lapping in the 43.2 for Sura, 43.4 for Garcia last time round. And the other rider that was close to them in lap time was Danny Munoz. So without those moments when he has a clean lap, the number 17 is just as fast as leaders as he's regrouped. We see him closing down Unai O'Radry on the number 10 STV L'Église racing team.
Yeah, you'd have to wonder how much that moment now is actually going to cost Danny Munoz. He has recovered, but out of the seat running in P3. He did have a little bit of a gap behind to catch the front two, while he did a comfortable gap behind the riders. But out of the seat now, you see he's lapping at the same pace as the front two, even quicker. If that hadn't happened, maybe, just maybe, this would be a three-way fight for victory. But still, what? We've got 10 and a half laps to go. In reality, Alberto Sura and Roberto Garcia, your front two. As we've seen already, though, plenty of moments for plenty of riders, and there's a long way to go here in the scorching hot conditions at the Algarve International Circuit.
Yeah, it's really heating up out there. in terms of track temperature and also on the track. The lap times are getting a little bit faster for some of the riders further down. We're just talking about Cassidy there.
Is that Cassidy who's gone down?
It's not Cassidy, I think that's Fernandez.
It's
Rato. We'll get it right eventually. So many bikes out there that have so many similar black, yellow or green colour schemes, so we get them a little bit mixed up, but into turn 5, very easy.
Lost it early.
Yeah, lost it very early. Just tipped it into the left-hander, front probably. Fold and down goes Rato out of the race. Thankfully, he was back up and okay, but back at, oh, moment there for Garcia out of the seat coming through the penultimate corner. And that's another rider we've seen, Chris, that's had a rear end moment. He's lost about 7 or 8 bike lengths there to Alberto Sura. Sura, the Italian, will not know what just happened right behind him, but Garcia, as we've seen in Misano, in Catalonia, and now here, has rear end moments. And as soon as that happens, it just makes him get a little bit squirrely. We'll see if he runs a little bit deep into turn 1. I thought he was a little bit leery on the brakes. Thankfully, it looked like he was okay. But another rider did have moments, a few laps to go. Danny Munoz, the second rider on screen you see here on the 17, chasing Unai Oradri as Oradri runs a little deep.
Looks a matter of time, and there it is.
There we go. Munoz into third, and he's going to be, I was going to say, maybe chasing after the leaders, but they're a little bit too far up the road, and on the previous lap, he was lapping 7/10 of a second slower than your race leader. So probably will not be able to catch those two. He makes a little bit of a mistake on the brakes, but Oradri was not able to capitalise.
Yeah, keep an eye on Alberto Fernandez, who's very much in this podium fight as well. Munoz now might want to get on with this. Oradri was sitting in P3, but didn't open up a gap to the chasing pack behind him. We've seen Munoz, he is by far and away the fastest rider, I think. Well, no, actually, I stand corrected, because Alberto Fernandez set the fastest lap of the race last time around. A 143.6 means he was the fastest rider on circuit on the last lap. So Fernandez very much in this battle for the podium, as Oradri looks to run it just a little bit wide there. As you can see now, Munoz is very much getting on with this. He is going to gap Oradri. Fernandez, if he has any hope of remaining in P3, has he gone a little bit wide? But Fernandez will want to get by the number 10 of Oradri, is what I was going to say, but now Munoz is in the clutches of both Oradri and Fernandez.
Yeah, Munoz is really struggling to stay online, isn't he? The young Spanish rider who took the double last time out, is struggling to keep online, but
almost immediately he opens up a gap again.
Yeah, it just completely dispels anything I say. As Fernandez makes a move, drives past Unai Oradri, got the drive out of the final corner. Looks like he's got some rear tyre left, as Fernandez steams past Oradri and already onto the back of the 17 of Danny Munoz, just in front of him. I wanted to mention on the previous lap, couple of laps, Mattia Cassidy, your championship leader, was back into the 45s. He's just dropped back into the 44s in that previous lap, but he's really struggling for pace here today. Just saw him flash into the screen in the background. He's coming under pressure now from Francesco Mongiardo, who's had a terrible start from 4th on the grid. It's Oradri up the inside, backs it in, sets up Fernandez, and they both lost ground to Danny Munoz in front of them. But keeping out of trouble and looking perfect at the front is Alberto Sura. Even Garcia's had a few moments in the last couple of laps, but he's managed to bridge that gap back to Sura.
Yeah, as you say, he has bridged that gap back to Sura. 0.3 of a second he had over the Italian on the last lap, although he runs a little bit wider there. Sura adopts the tighter line coming around down the hill at 8. But just as we say he's closing, it looks like Sura has responded now. We're just looking at the sector times. They're going pretty much toe for toe here across sectors 1 and 2. Danny Munoz is running in P3. He is quicker than both riders in front. Is he? Not quite. He actually just set his own personal best time, but he's lapping at the same pace as the front two. A reminder then that the gap between the front two and Danny Munoz, Oradri, Fernandez is just over 5 seconds. So barring disaster from either the 67 or number 31, it looks like they are on the podium home and hose. You can see there, they are in an acre of space.
We saw this back in Misano, didn't we? Once Sura gets to the front, he just sets a consistently fast pace and asks questions of the riders behind if they can keep up. And as we saw back in Misano, and as we're seeing here today, there's a few mistakes creeping in for Garcia, just trying to push on and hold with Alberto Sura, who's just meticulous in hitting his marks at every turn. Garcia was a bit stronger out of turn 4, down to 5 to go, but he just seems happy to sit there for the moment.
Is he looking to show a little wheel up the inside in turn 5? He's just a little too far back, I think, Liam, but it looks like he is very much on the attack.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's on the attack. Big time is Garcia. He's setting up a move into 8.
Oh,
here
it
we
comes.
go. Beautifully
Oh,
done.
wow.
Oh, does he run it deep? No, he doesn't. A block pass there from Roberto Garcia. A very audacious but brilliant move for the young Spaniard ahead of Sura. What can Sura do now? Can he retaliate into Portimão? He's a little bit too far back. Garcia's pushing the front of that Pirelli tyre into turn 11. Down the hill they go once again. A bit of a moment there, almost touching the grass as Garcia, but he's really feeling like he's got the pace now. We were saying that Sura was looking comfortable at the front, is hitting his marks, a consistent pace, but maybe Garcia, after those mistakes, has realised maybe he needs to push on a little bit. He can bridge the gap away from Sura.
I know there is a long way to go yet, just over 7 laps remaining, but if that was a move if there was a move worthy of a winning overtake, that was certainly it. That was ballsy from Garcia. It was absolutely stunning move around turn 8 as he retakes the lead, opens up a little bit of a gap. So it's wheel for wheel so far out at the front. Garcia holding on to the lead, but for how long as Sura down the hill into turn 1 retaliate on the Spaniard. The two of these have been going toe-to-toe from the very first lap. They took a couple laps just to catch a breather, but they are very much back at it now. Garcia versus Sura. Who will take victory as we lose one of the riders? I think that is Marco
Volpe. It's Mattia Volpe.
Mattia Volpe has crashed out. Oh, disappointment for Volpe here.
Yeah, he was running strongly just outside the top 10 was Volpe, but down at turn 12, or turn 13, I should say. A couple of times we've seen that so far today, so the MR Racing rider down and out, unfortunately for Volpe. But we're back to the front, and Sura has opened up a bit of a gap, so he managed to bridge the gap to Garcia, so he wouldn't retaliate into turn 8, as we saw last lap. These two are going tit for tat at the moment, Chris, and Sura is, well, given just as good as he can get from Garcia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, you could just make a highlights package from these two riders from the opening lap, the last couple laps. A brilliant move from Garcia around turn 8 last time around. No such move this time around. However, Sura just having a little moment there, I think, or are my eyes deceiving me? But Sura responded coming into turn 1 last lap, and now he's going to lead coming across the line, you would imagine. Does Garcia have anything for Sura? Will he retaliate with a move of his own at turn 1?
Well, we will see in just a moment's time as they wind the wick up over the crest of the hill, down the front straight, ticking off another lap, 6 to go. Roberto Garcia pulls out of the slipstream and down to turn 1, but Sura even later on the brakes. He's been brilliant into turn 1, has Alberto Sura, as we see Danny Munoz has opened up a bit of a gap for 3rd spot over Fernandez. Uraji, he's back down to 5th now, and it's Eric Fernandez on the number 4 FAL 55 racing machine. He's in 6th spot, but Danny Munoz, after those few mistakes earlier on in the race, seems to be hitting his marks now, and on that previous lap he was in the 1:43, so the same lap time as Alberto Fernandez, just behind him, and still a couple of tenths slower than your race leaders.
Yeah, just a note on that chasing pack. It seems Jorge Navarro has completely dropped out as a rider pops into pit lane. That's Francesco Mangiaro, who started on the 2nd row. Disappointment then for the Italian. But just mentioning on Jorge Navarro, one of the most experienced riders here on the grid, has just kind of dropped out of contention completely. Had a very strong start, but he's there battling with Mattia Cassidy for P7. Now back out front, it is Sura and Garcia. This is where what we want to see. This is a battle between championship contenders. As things stand, it is Garcia who leads the championship, but Sura, with victory, indeed a podium, but with victory, will very much fire himself back towards the top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, it's, the championship is closing up just as we want, with Mattia Cassidy still mired back in 8th spot, and Jorge Navarro, who could have been chopping into the championship lead as well, he's dropped all the way back down to 7th on the previous lap on the 1:45s. But we forget about that for now as we wind the wick up once again. A bit of a moment there for Garcia as he pulls out of the slipstream across the line. Bosco Scooter just seems to be a little bit quicker in the straight line. They've both got the same engines, but different chassis, different fairings on that bike. Maybe the Bosco Scuro is just punching its way through the air a little bit better, or the gearing maybe just carrying him forward. So as we see, Mattia Cassidy, he's now gained another position. He's up to 7th, just ahead of Jorge Navarro's coming under some pressure from Kaito Toba.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine something going wrong for Navarro badly here. He was running in the top 5 for quite a while, and he seems to have given up that position against Cassidy rather easily. And look what that does, because Cassidy has gained that position back. He is now level on points with Garcia, 91 each. Sura will be in 3rd position with your P3 rider Danny Munoz just 9 points behind. It is all to play for in the championship, all to play for in this race. We've got a 2nd race coming up, but let's focus on the battle for the lead as Sura continues to lead.
But Garcia shaping up a move. Garcia's going for a move into Portimão. Oh, it's going to be very close. Might he tap the rear wheel? No, he doesn't. Sura just closes the door on Garcia. So Garcia, you've got to wake up a little bit earlier, get up a day earlier as well, to try and get ahead of Alberto Sura. Sura has absolute confidence in that front Pirelli tyre that it will grip and it will stick, as does Garcia, that he won't take out your race leader. But Sura is just so confident on the front end, while it seems like Garcia just seems to get the drive out of the fast corners, as we'll see now as they come through the final corner. There'll be 4 laps to go as across the line. Garcia not close enough yet to shape up a move, a couple of bike lengths further back. But as we go into turn number 1, we will see how close the Spaniard can get. He's already right on the rear wheel of Alberto Sura. And 4 laps to go for now. And Garcia and Sura, anyone's race. This one is a couple of different lines, a couple of different styles. You can see from the Boscoscuro and the Calyx going into turn number 3. Once again, look at Garcia just getting the power down, winding the wick up out of turn 4. Down to 5 to go. Sura once again late on the brakes. It gives Garcia no chance whatsoever to have a look up the inside. But as we saw a couple of laps ago, there was a move into turn 8, but Garcia seems a little bit further back than he was a couple of laps ago to make that move.
Yeah, Sura was one of, 5 riders in the 143s, a 143.9 last time around.
Oh, a moment there for Sura.
Garcia 144, but he maintains the lead coming down into Craig Jones' corner onto the left hand. Sura, how costly is that moment? He has lost drive, and Garcia is making another sensational move up the inside of the Italian. Garcia has pulled off some excellent moves, but he seems to have lost a little bit of drive there once again as Sura retakes the lead. Who is going to lead coming out through turn 13? It's Garcia has the advantage, and he makes it stick this time. Does he lean? Does Sura have anything to answer coming around turns 14 and 15?
I count 4 overtakes in the matter of 3 corners there from Garcia and Sura. This is great action. This is what Moto2 in 2024 is all about. Oh, what a bit of a moment there for Sura. Looked like he lost the front, then the rear, then the front went again. And that's just opened up the advantage for Garcia, who comes across the line. 3 to go. But watch out for the Boscoscuro. We've seen in many laps that the Boscoscuro has a bit extra punch down the front straight. But this time round, Sura cannot get alongside after that moment through the final corner.
Just one thing to note, both riders with all that battling were in the 144s, while Danny Munoz is still setting a pretty sensational pace. It might just be a little too late, but if they keep chopping and changing at the front, it could potentially bring Munoz into it. Now it's a far cry because there's 2.5 laps to go with 4 seconds between them. Munoz is setting a very hot late race pace here, and Garcia and Sura are just taking chunks out of each other.
Yeah, who is it all to play for now? Who's sharpened their sword the most? Who is coming out to play the hardest? It looks like for now it's Garcia. This section of track, he just got a little bit more of a Sura, who runs it a little bit deep, pushing the front end of that Boscoscuro to his absolute limit as we come through Craig Jones' corner. This is where Garcia, we've seen on many laps over the previous few, has been absolutely on form. This time around, it looks like he's up it says 0.3 of a second on our time watch. That looks about 5 or 6 of a second as we go into turn 13. I must admit, Chris, it looks like Garcia might have this one covered. I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, but Sura looks like he has absolutely no answer for your Fantic Cardoso racing rider. But Garcia looks like he's on for another victory here in 2024.
Yeah, Garcia had 0.4 of a second coming through sector 2 in his back pocket, and he has really opened up a gap here. Sensational stuff then from Garcia, who is all but locked in for his 2nd win of the Moto2 Championship, 2nd win of the campaign, and ready to become the outright championship leader.
Yeah, 5 points he would take over the championship lead from Cassidy if it remains as is with your current championship leader. Meyer back down the order in 7th position on that previous lap. He's actually lapping faster than the riders just in front. He's under 44.4. That's one of his fastest laps of the race. The riders in front, which includes Oradri and Fernandez, are in the 45s. He's only just a second behind those two, so he could be gaining a couple more points, can your championship leader for now, but if it remains as is, it'll be Garcia taking over the championship lead, and look at that. Garcia still in the 1 minute 43s. Outstanding stuff. We said many times throughout this race, Garcia looks like in the past, he's maybe just taken a bit too much life out of that rear tyre in previous races and it spins up, but today, no such issue whatsoever. It's everyone else that's losing their tyre, while Garcia is keeping his in form and still in the 1 minute 43s.
Yeah, it looks like Garcia very much has this covered now. A 1.2 second advantage over Sura opened up over the last lap and a half. Sura looks like he is settling for P2. First podium since his race win on opening day in Misano. So it's still going to be a strong result for the Italian, who will fire himself back into championship contention, particularly with the underperformance of Mattia Cassidy. He looks like he's going to ride home to 7th position, though he's just behind Eric Fernandez, so it's not all lost yet for the championship leader and Moto2 world champion. The championship leader, I should say, coming into this one.
Yeah, round the final corner, Garcia ticks off another lap. On to the last lap we go. It's a 31 Garcia leading the way, 1.9 seconds ahead of Alberto Sura. But in the background, we have a change for the podium positions, maybe. It looks like Fernandez, he does chop in front of Danny Munoz, and Fernandez on course for his 3rd podium of the season. But what can Danny Munoz do? Your double race winner from Barcelona last time out. He's got a couple of opportunities. Here he comes again into turn 3, sets up Fernandez. A block pass as clean as you like, almost on the limit there, but Fernandez up the inside, chops it back up the inside. This is great from the two young Spanish riders. Down towards turn 5 they go. This is for the final position on the podium. This is for honour as well. The two young Spaniards, the 16-year-old, the 17-year-old, do battle, but for now, as they exit turn 5, a bit of a wiggle there from Fernandez. He's opened up the gap. It looks like he just has a bit more tyre left than Danny Munoz.
Yeah, I mentioned Munoz is potentially coming into the victory fight if they kept chopping and changing out front. But out of nowhere, Alberto Fernandez had 0.8 of a second on the last lap over the double winner from Barcelona, and he has opened up a gap. We mentioned it before the race with Fernandez. He loves the podium, Liam. He loves to come from nowhere and pick up a podium, and he's doing it once again here. Superb effort from the FIM Network team rider aboard that Boscoscuro Calyx. Boscoscuro chassis, I should say, ahead of the Calyx chassis of Danny Munoz.
Yeah, too many different chassis to remember out there, Chris. But the one rider we will remember from race number 1 here in Moto2, he rounds the final corner. He's got 2 seconds in hand over Alberto Sura. He winds the wick up through the final corner. Greatness comes in twos to say. It's Great Garcia who takes the win here in Portimão, ahead of Alberto Sura, who takes his 2nd podium in Moto2 in 2024. And it's Fernandez who holds off Munoz for the final podium position, his 3rd podium of the season. A handshake there from your top 2. They put on a valiant performance, but nobody could stop Garcia, who set at 1:44.5, faster than anyone else on the final lap of the race. Just outside your top 4, Unai Oradri holds on to 5th position, but your he's now the former championship leader, Mattia Cassidy, finishes in 6th. He just pipped Eric Fernandez on the final lap. Couto Toba in 8th, ahead of Jorge Navarro, who had a stonker of a start, but a stinker of a finish. Finishes down in 9th, ahead of Johan Jambert.
Yeah, an absolutely sensational battle here in the opening race of the Moto2 Championship in the Algarve. Garcia and Sura really went toe-to-toe there. It was an epic battle. Garcia just ran away with it a little bit towards the end, but that doesn't tell half the tale, as the two of them across, 15 laps, went wheel to wheel with some sensational overtakes.
Yeah, great performance there from those two, and we hope to see more of that in race number 2 today. Alberto Sura waves to the marshals, waves to the fans. He'll be absolutely pleased with his performance in that one there. And thankfully for him, he has another bite of the cherry in race number 2. He'll be hoping to go one step ahead as we go racing at 3 o'clock local time here in Portimão. His second podium of the season, his first podium since Misano round number 1 when he took victory, his first in Moto2. And Alberto Ferrandez on the Finland Work team, the number 54. Third podium of the season for the 16-year-old. Remember that name. He'll be looking to go on to bigger and greater things, and he's just chomping away at the bit ever so slightly, and his results are increasing as we go throughout the season. Mattia Cassidy, the number 40, Bosco Scuro, he came into this round 7 points ahead of Garcia, but he could go no higher than 6th position today. It looked like it was going to be a lot worse, so a bit of damage limitation for the Italian as we see a rolling stoppie, top rack Raz Gattioglu style, as the team come running over to congratulate Roberto Garcia. His third season in the class, picked up his first podium last year, picked up his first victory a couple of rounds ago, and he continues on that form. And he goes a couple of steps better each year here in Portimão. In 22, he was 5th position. Last year in the Algarve, he was 3rd. And today, he wins the race. Coming into Parc Fermé, and it wasn't quite a stoppie from Alberto Ferrandez, but a rolling slidey, we should say, or something along those lines, as he comes into Parc Fermé and goes over to get himself weighed before he joins the team for big celebrations. But the biggest of those will be for numero uno, Roberto Garcia, who at the end of the season will be hoping to take away that number 3 from the 31 and just have the number 1, as he rolls out of pit lane and listen to the team as they cheer on their superstar. The Fante Cardoso Racing team once again runs over to get himself weighed, as we see Ferrandez and the team in the background with massive celebrations. Unfortunately, we will not be hearing from him, which I would quite like to have heard from, but look at this. This was the move, the race-winning overtake. This was the third of the overtakes in a couple of corners. Smoke coming off the book from Alberto Sura, but Garcia just timed it to absolute perfection, as clean as you like on the brakes into turn 13. Comes across the line to record another victory in the Moto2 European Championship, and with that takes the championship lead by 4 points over Mattia Cassidy. Luis Cardoso, a former MotoGP rider, who set up a really well-oiled team in the JuniorGP series, and especially in the Moto2 class, with Roberto Garcia, the next superstar, coming through. So we will be able to hear the thoughts of Roberto Garcia in a few moments when he talks to Chris Jordan. We'll be hearing all of his thoughts from that race, and his thoughts ahead of race number 2 coming up at 3 o'clock local time. And who can stop Roberto Garcia? He took pole position here yesterday. He's been fastest in almost every single session throughout the weekend. Danny Munoz, who just missed out on the podium, topped FP1. I think that was the only time that Roberto Garcia didn't top a session so far this weekend. So it just shows you how on form the 31 is. Alberto Sura, it's great to see him back in Parc Fermé once again. As we said earlier on, his first podium since round 1 in Misano, where he took victory, led so brilliantly throughout that race for 14 laps or so. He was coming under increasing pressure from Roberto Garcia, but unfortunately had nothing to answer the young Spaniard with. So we'll be getting ready ever so shortly to talk to our race winner here in Moto2, but the pose for our photo first of all, get an all-important photo in to hang that back up in base and show to all the sponsors to keep them very happy indeed, as he makes his way over to Chris Jordan, and we'll get to hear what Roberto Garcia has to say as he talks to Chris.
Victory, championship leader, not a bad day's work. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, this moment is very beautiful for me and for my team, because this weekend is work. And yeah, and the second race, I look to temp, and it's very hot, and I'm very happy for this second victory in this championship. Thank you for my team, for my family, and for Carlos, por Carmelo. Thank you.
Y por todos sus aficionados en España.
Sí, ha sido un fin de semana muy complicado, ya que hemos tenido muchas temperaturas muy raras, de mucha calor y con mucho viento, pero hemos hecho un gran trabajo con mi equipo, que hemos puesto la moto muy en el sitio y hemos trabajado muy bien. Y la verdad que contento, esto nos ha dado un empujón para la siguiente carrera, que la tendremos ahora, y nada, a ver cómo transcurre por la temperatura, pero vamos a lucharla. Muchas gracias a mi equipo Cardoso Fanti Racing y a mi familia, que los quiero muchísimo.
Felicidades.
Well, he said it was a beautiful ride and it was a beautiful day under the Algarve sun, but wasn't a beautiful race for Lorenzo Felon, who fell off the grid, but he was back on the bike. As the lights went out, it was Roberto Garcia who took the whole shot into turn number 1, but Alberto Sur quickly challenged later on the brakes and he swept into the lead. However, Roberto Garcia would quickly retaliate as Danny Munoz slotted into third. But it wouldn't be long before the Bosco Scooter would take the advantage once again, pushing Garcia out wide, but it was chopping and changing on the opening lap as Garcia once again took the lead into turn number 8. It wouldn't be the first time we'd see a pass into there. Danny Munoz was in third spot, just holding off Unai Oradri in the opening lap before he had a couple of out-at-sea moments. But on the third lap, we saw Alberto Sura charge past Roberto Garcia and into the lead, where he would become unchallenged for a couple of laps. Further back, our former championship leader, Mattia Cassidy, was struggling to break into the top 10. But once again, into turn number 8, a block pass for Roberto Garcia. He would take the lead from Alberto Sura. But what could Sura do? Made a move once again into turn 1. But it was this move again that really opened up the race as Garcia made a move, with Sura retaliating into the fast turn 12. But into 13, it was Garcia that would make the race-winning overtake before he would eventually open up an advantage on the final lap. The battle for the podium heated up between Munoz and Ferrandez. Ferrandez on the 54, Munoz on the 17, chopping and changing, but it was that move there that kept Ferrandez in the podium battle, as it was Garcia that took victory here today to take the championship lead from Mattia Cassidy. A big wheelie and celebration and a stoppie too for Garcia as he rolled into Parc Ferme to join his team. He takes victory here in race number 1 in Moto2.
We are ready, and I call the team manager from Fantica Cardoso Racing, Jordi Colacio.
Jordi Colacio takes the honours of lifting the trophy for the Fantic Cardoso Racing team.
Second position,
the second time of the year they will do that, as Ferrandez steps onto third place on the podium for the third time this year. Alberto Sura taking his second podium of the season, his first since Misano, but taking victory here today is Roberto Garcia in race number 1.
Deneau, Vice President of FIM Europe.
Jean-Marc Deneau handing over the trophy to your race-winning team, the Fantic Cardoso Racing team. And second one of the season. Can they make it a double later on today? Lifting it atop, Alberto Ferrandez takes third place. Vamos, let's go for race number 2, says Alberto later on today.
Trophy for second position, Sura is handled by
from one Alberto to another. Sura takes second place from Manuel Mourinho, the Vice President of FIM Europe. Sura, that's a very happy young Italian with that one. but not as happy as your race winner here today in race number 1. Roberto Garcia for Fantic Cardoso Racing takes the winner's trophy, and you'll hear his national anthem.
Of Spain for the winning rider, Roberto Garcia. Time also for
Didn't fade out the national anthem, just cut it in its tracks, but Roberto Garcia won't mind too much as he takes victory, and you can hear the team down below chanting his name. So spraying a bit of the bubbly, but not too much, because we've got another race coming up at 3 p.m. local time here today, where this will be the best racing conditions they have all day, because by the time 3 o'clock runs round, it'll be a scorcher out there, but a scorching pace out front was set by Roberto Garcia, eventually winning the race 2 seconds ahead of Alberto Sur, with Fernandez taking his 3rd podium of the season. Just missing out on that podium was Danny Munoz, and running at the top 5 was Unai Aradri ahead of Cassidy, your former championship leader. Eric Fernandez, who showed well in the opening laps, drops down to 7th ahead of Cato Toba, and Jorge Navarro, another rider whose times plummeted in the final laps. Running at the top 10 was Jambert, the French rider, ahead of Brett Roberts and Taiga Hada. De Vittori, the Italian, in 13th ahead of Charles Aubry in 14th position, with Lorenzo Fellon, who started from the pit lane, missing out on some points as he dropped out on the final lap. Further back, Harrison Voigt, Max Toth, Mattia Rato and Marco Tapia were all non-finishers, but they'll be hoping to make amends in race number 2 coming up a little bit later on today. So those results have done this to the championship standings. Roberto Garcia now leads the championship on 96 points, 4 ahead of Matteo Cassidy, and Alberto Sura, he launched himself back in the championship contention with 2nd place. Danny Munoz in 4th ahead of Jorge Navarro, he slips further back. Alberto Fernandez, Taiga Hada running at top 7 ahead of Aradri, and Fernandez in the top 9. Monjardo, who retired from the race, he's in 10th ahead of Johan Jambert, is still racking off consistent points in 11th. Matteo Rato, Lorenzo Fellon, and Harrison Voigt running at top 14 ahead of Brett Roberts, who picked up some good points here today, ahead of Kauto Toba, who picks up his best finish of the season ahead of Marco Tapia. Matteo Volpe, he dropped out mid-race distance. He's ahead of Ivo Lopez. The Portuguese rider is not racing this weekend, ahead of Montero. De Vittori, Maxwell Toth, Hochewik, Charles Aubry and Channon Inter on 1 point in 25th position. Well, it's Roberto Garcia, the reign supreme here in Portimão for race number 1 in the Algarve. Race number 2 will be coming up a little bit later on at 3 o'clock local time, so you won't want to miss that. Can Roberto Garcia make it a double delight in Portimão? Make sure you stay tuned, because we've got more racing coming up next with the European Talent Cup.